believe that being a defender requires more than building shooting skills on a range. It's also a development of the heart, mind, body, and spirit. Join us as we explore what it truly means to be a defender in your training and in your everyday life. Welcome to Defenders Live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Defenders Live. I'm your host, Laura Thorson. Boy, have I got a treat for you tonight. I think we're going to be having 4 women. We have at least 3 women that are going to be on the show tonight. Yep, I see the 4th just popped up there. So we're going to be talking about safeguarding the Second Amendment tonight. And if you're curious about what is happening with the Second Amendment in America, this will be an eye-opening episode for you. I've asked these 4 women to come to join me tonight from across the country to discuss this. And each woman is working hard in their own state through an organization called Women for Gun Rights, formerly known as DC Project. Specifically, we're gonna touch on at least what is happening recently in Colorado and Missouri, and how that may potentially affect other states in the country. And we'll also be discussing actionable items that you can implement in your own area. So stay tuned for that here in just a little bit. But first, I just want to say, hey, if you're new, or if you're watching this as a replay, welcome. We're so glad that you're here. Please drop in the comments where you're watching from. We always want to hear from you. And this week's episode is brought to you by Patriot Mobile. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. They offer nationwide coverage using the same towers as major carriers, but typically for much less. They are 100% US based in customer service and provide exceptional customer support. If you want to check them out, I invite you to go to patriotmobile.com/defenders, and you can get free activation with the offer code DEFENDERS. Also, Adam Witch, the founder of Defenders USA, is behind the scenes helping us tonight, and I need all the help that I can get. So I thank him very much for helping us behind the scenes. And if you see him, I didn't mean to do that. If you see him pop on the screen from time to time, don't be alarmed. He may have comments or questions along the way. A couple announcements before we get started with the interview. I feel like I have a hair right here. It's like, anyway, have you ever had that happen? Then it like tickles and then it bothers you. Anyway, a couple of announcements before we begin. Defenders Live is now officially on almost every podcasting platform, including Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So be sure to subscribe there and leave a review if you like what you hear. And make sure you don't miss out another episode by going to defenders-live.com. Go to the bottom of the homepage, sign up for email notifications, and I will email you every week and let you know what to expect for the upcoming show. You can also join us on our private Facebook group, Defenders Live with Laura Thorson on Facebook. So stay tuned for more announcements at the end of the show and what to expect for next week. And guys, don't be shy. Put in the comments anything that pops in your head that you think is relevant to the conversation. If you have a question, put that in the comments as well, and we'll do a live Q&A at the end of the broadcast. So let's get right into the interview with my now 4 guests. I was expecting 3. Now I have 4. That's okay. I can take that. It's funny because I only had 1 person per interview, and now I have 4. It's 4-to-1 ratio. So hope they're nice, right? So let's get right into the interview. As I said before, these 4 gals are working hard in their individual states to safeguard, and in their regions to safeguard our Second Amendment through the organization Women for Gun Rights. Diana Muller is the founder of DC Project. She's a retired 22-year veteran of the Tulsa Police Department and a 2-time national 3-gun champion and professional shooter. Cindy Zumwalt is the Northwest Regional Director for Women for Gun Rights. She's formerly anti-gun, but now a strong advocate for firearms education and safety with a goal to empower herself and others. And in addition to actively contributing to training events with A Girl and a Gun, she is a passionate supporter of our Second Amendment. Her ongoing interest in current and proposed gun laws benefit her when teaching others to understand and appreciate their constitutional right to protect themselves and their families, in addition to helping women gain skills and confidence with firearms. Cindy enjoys recreational shooting in her spare time and is also the Northwest Regional Director for Women for Gun Rights. She is a facilitator and runs the Salt Lake chapter of A Girl and a Gun and is a firearms instructor. Susan Myers, my third gal on tonight. Are you keeping track? Susan Myers is the Missouri State Director for Women for Gun Rights. She is a Second Amendment advocate testifying on firearms-related bills heard in the Missouri legislature with the goal of ensuring the female firearms owners' perspective is expressed and on record. She is a chapter leader for Armed Women of America, a church safety team head in her church, and secretary. She's also a wife, mother of 2 grown men, and a grandmother. And our fourth guest, Barb Miller. I feel like I'm on a game show or something. And our fourth guest, Barb Miller, is the Colorado State Director for Women for Gun Rights. She's a healthcare executive, a small business owner, a community volunteer, hunter, wife, mother, and grandmother. And she is also the facilitator for two chapters of A Girl and a Gun shooting organization, an NRA and USCCA instructor, range safety officer, and Refuse to Be a Victim instructor. Her business, High Caliber Gear, was born to bring the world of firearms training to women, the fastest growing demographic of firearms owners. As the Colorado State Director, she actively works with legislators on all levels about Second Amendment issues, testifies on bills at the Colorado State Legislature, and presents at regional and national conferences and rallies. Barb believes our voices and actions are making a difference. So let's find out what's going on and see if I can bring all of these gals onto the stage at once. Hey, girls, welcome to the show.
Hello.
Hello.
That was a lot. That was a lot of bios. And I hope that everyone hung with me there. I see we've got some shout out, and I forgot to do the shout outs, guys. I'm sorry, but I see you guys from Arizona, Utah, Ohio, Montana, Nevada. Thank you guys all so much for watching. And I know you guys are from different parts of the country, and I think that's going to help us a lot in our conversation tonight. But I think, if you don't mind, Diana, good to meet you. Thank you for being on the show. Can we start with you? Are you okay with that?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Let's talk about, just so that everyone has an understanding about the mission behind the organization. Since you're the founder, could you give us a brief synopsis of the mission? And then let me see if I can get you on the screen here correctly. But yeah, go ahead with what it's all about. Oops, that's me. I don't want me on there. Okay.
So I was a police officer and a professional shooter, and really God put it on my heart to do the DC project, Now Women for Gun Rights. I had no intentions of creating an organization. It was me sitting in front of a representative, and I had this light bulb moment of like, hey, is there something that we should be doing as professional shooters to help the people in this building, the U.S. State Capitol, understand the bad decisions that they're making and the unintended consequences. And it was from there I realized that was really my awakening to politics and to even caring about, anything besides my own little bubble.
Right.
And then I realized, well, I can't go to every state. I can only go to the state I lived in at the time, Oklahoma. Hence, we have Susan in Missouri. We have Barb in Colorado. We have Cindy in Utah. And God just started kind of weaving together all these women from different states. And we would go to Washington once a year to meet our legislators as gun owners. Well, in 2019, if you remember, Virginia fell to an all anti-2A government from top to bottom, governor on down. And you saw 98% of their counties go sanctuary 2A counties. And it was really then that I thought, oh my goodness, that going to the national is great, but the fight is in the states. So I turned around and asked the women that had been going to Washington, D.C. with me to go back and do a similar effort in the states. Create a group of women, go to the state capitals, and meet your legislators as gun owners. And really, I have to give our inspiration. A lot of our inspiration is we have seen Moms Demand Action, a very motivated, well-funded, very well-organized group of Bloomberg funded to the tune of $60 million. We have seen them be so effective. And really what I do now is I just watch what they do and we try to counter it. We have our t-shirts that says educate, not legislate. So we have our signature t-shirts, just like they have their signature t-shirts. And we try to create those visuals that they do. They're so good at marketing. So why not just use their tactics?
Yeah, I think that's so smart. And unfortunately, I think we've been put in a position where if at this point we don't do something, this is really going to get taken away from us. Do you agree?
Absolutely. I don't think our side understands the threat. And the threat is that specifically Moms Demand Action has been operating for over 10 years. But they don't have any idea how effective they have been and how strategic they are. They know that they have to take the reins. So they are creating people to run for office and they are doing things very strategic. And I think our side thinks that, live and let live and the Constitution will save us. Well, I'm here to tell you that they don't care about the Constitution and they are here to change and take the reins.
When did this get, when did this get started, Diana? When did you really get active with this?
About 2016 is when 2017, we started going to Washington, D.C. And like I said, 2019, we decided that 2020 was going to be a good time to use COVID to go to our, stay a little bit closer to home.
Right. Okay, I'm going to switch over to Cindy now. Cindy, can you tell us how you got involved? And then now you're the Northwest Regional Director, is that correct? And on the advisory board as well.
That is correct. I was previously anti-gun. I had a scary situation where my husband felt that my safety was more important than what I thought it was. And so he introduced me into firearms. My experience, though, is I didn't have any and I needed to learn how to do it. So I found the organization of A Girl and a Gun. And through that organization, I learned to empower myself. And I did not want that to be taken away. And so I would I would start advocating for others to learn how to train with a firearm. And I was noticed of what I was doing and asked to join formally at that time DC Project to be this Utah State Director. And I did that for about a year and a half. And then they, I think you do something good and they promote you to do something better. And now I'm the Northwest Regional Director and I'm over 12 states.
That's awesome. And I forgot to ask you, Diana, why then you decide, I think I know why common sense would tell me, but why did you guys decide to change the name?
Well, I never did particularly care for the DC Project. And I had to name it. And I thought it was just going to be a thing that we did in Washington, DC. But then after we started gaining steam and you're noticing that you're going to have legs and you want to more appropriately name it. We had adopted the Women for Gun Rights tagline several years ago. But now that we are a full-fledged organization, womenforgunrights.org, and anybody can join, then we wanted to kind of officially shift gears and go to Women for Gun Rights that's a little bit more applicable in all the states.
Right. So I looked on your website and I see that the mission for the Women for Gun Rights is to, and this may have been slightly tweaked, I don't know. Tell me if it's not exactly right. The mission is to raise awareness among community members, including legislators, that firearm safety and violence prevention are achieved through education, not legislation, to encourage the preservation of Americans' gun culture, from conservation and commerce to competitive sports, hunting, and self-defense, and to highlight the diversity and rising demographic of female gun owners through ongoing advocacy. Cindy, could you speak to that rise in female gun ownership that's been ongoing?
Well, over the last several years, we've had a large increase in female gun owners. I see it being able to train women how to use their firearm, how to protect themselves. But what we do with Women for Gun Rights is we use those women and their stories, and we use that to take to our legislators and express why we need to have our Second Amendment. We need to be equal to our attackers. We are not the same size as them. We're not 200, 250 pounds, 6 foot tall. A lot of us are, a little bit on the older side. We don't have the strength that we would do, if another man was to be attacked. So we use our stories and explain why we need the Second Amendment. And with the women population growing as firearm owners, we actually have several more stories to be able to share because of this.
I've heard a lot of stories. There's so many. And speaking of that Susan, you're really the inspiration for me to want to have you guys on the show. I just want you to know that, because Susan recently posted a YouTube video, and I think it was is it under Unapologetically Armed on YouTube or not?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So if you want to see it, you can go to Unapologetically Armed on YouTube. And Susan, could you just briefly give us the highlights of why you made that video and what that was all about?
Yeah, I made that video because I had just gotten off the phone and I was so angry. And, I'm in the house by myself and I'm like, I got to get this out. So I'd set up the camera and just riffed and let it
Missouri,
flow.
Right?
Yes, I'm in Missouri. And I forget what day that video was, but the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. And there was a parade on Valentine's Day, and the shooting occurred and all that. And so a week or two later, the House floor leader, back up. I had been advocating hard for a bill that would allow concealed carry on public transit. Missouri is the only red state in our country that bans carry on public transit, and it's my issue. Gun-free zones, getting rid of them, and so that was getting set to be perfected on the House floor, which is just one step before passing in the House. So the House floor leader, because of pressure from all the anti-gun, he just came out and announced that that firearms bill would not be moving forward. And I had
almost across the finish line, right?
Right. And, it was people being able to arm themselves in dangerous cities, had nothing to do with what happened at the parade. And so I had been on the phone leaving a message with the floor leader's office expressing my deep disappointment. And so, that's where that video came from. And it was one take. It was raw. I cried. I don't cry. So, I hate that it's out there, but it needed.
I love that it's out there. And don't ever apologize for crying, because I tell you what, I'd say over the last month, I've cried twice on the show. So what? It means you care. It means you're passionate about what you're doing. And that resonates with people. So don't ever apologize for that. You're not apologizing for being armed, as I see on your slogan there. So don't apologize for crying either. Yeah. So then, Barb, tell me, I've been hearing a lot of crazy things happening in Colorado. So I'm really interested to hear what are the highlights that we can take away from all of the craziness going on in Colorado right now.
Thanks for having me on, first off. But, Colorado, the hunting and skiing state, has now been overrun by anti-gunners. And so we have a supermajority in our legislature, Dem majority. And they have now thrown everything at us, including the kitchen sink with regards to gun bills. We've got an AR ban that's coming up on Tuesday. We've got a concealed carry bill that's out there where they want us to jump through flaming hoops in order to get our concealed carry or to teach concealed carry.
Oh.
I have, you know, right in front of me, I have 13 bills that they've got out there. They don't want to pass. They didn't pass a penalty for theft of a firearm to make it a felony, nor did they pass firearm detection software for use in schools. So if somebody came in with a firearm, they would be, you know, aware of it. So they really don't want to take care of criminals and they just want gun control. So suicide prevention in the workplace, they want people to have to put up signs that talk bad about guns. They want the Colorado Bureau of Investigation to really go hard after gun stores and FFLs. Suicide prevention programs in the agricultural workplace. They want to have signs and stuff like that. It just goes on and on and on. So they want us to have firearms liability insurance, everybody. They want to make sure you've got a safe in your car so nobody can steal your firearm. I mean, if you want to hear more, I can tell you, but it is an extreme of firearm bills. And we're exhausted. We are people that work every single day, and we are having to take off from work to go downtown and testify against these bills. And when you've got 7 Democrats and 3 Republicans, you know what's going to happen. So that's kind of what we're doing right now, but we're still fighting. On Monday, we're actually going to have a press conference, Women for Gun Rights, at the Colorado State Capitol at 12 o'clock. And it's going to be in the old Supreme Court room. So we're fighting with everything that we've got. We have people testifying, you name it.
And that reminds me, Susan, didn't you have a rally coming up in Missouri as well?
Yes, thank you. Wednesday, April 17th from 10 to noon in the beautiful Capitol Rotunda.
Okay. So now then I'm going to, yeah, you bet. You told me to remind you, so I did. Diana, I wanted to ask you, so based on everything that I'm hearing here, I can kind of read between the lines. The trajectory of this is probably not going well. And my biggest fear personally is, and I guess I should put myself bigger so people can see me. I don't like it when I'm big on the screens. My biggest fear is that especially red states will do the same thing that got us here, which is be complacent. And if we continue to be complacent, like you said, the people that are against this are well-funded and well-organized, right? And so what you've done here is remarkable, and brave and all the words, courageous. But do you see this? What does this trajectory look like over, for example, the last decade? Has it really ramped up over the last 3 or 4 years? Or does it just feel that way?
No, I think it's absolutely ramped up. And like I said, they're being strategic about it. They're putting more people in legislative seats. They're intentionally doing that. Whereas I don't know that our community is really recognizing the threat. So that being said, is you talked about complacency. Absolutely. This is not an NRA fight. This is not a GOA fight. This is not an anybody. This isn't a Women for Gun Rights fight. This is an everybody fight, and everybody needs to jump in. I don't care what state you're from right now. Colorado's on fire, and they need everybody to show up. They have a big rally. Rocky Mountain Gun Owners Association's doing a big rally on Tuesday, the 19th morning before the hearing all day long. If you're in Colorado and you want to testify, let's make sure you know how to do that and sign up to testify. And, you know, from Women for Gun Rights, like I mentioned, we're countering a massive organization. We need numbers. We need people to, it's free to sign up, womenforgunrights.org. It's free to sign up. You'll get connected with your state directors, and you can just start doing what you want to do. I mean, we need everybody to but it's not a heavy ask. Just signing up, liking our Facebook, liking our Instagram, commenting, and really creating some buzz around our pages, that's free. And anybody can do that. And we would appreciate, if you care about our country, if you care about the Second Amendment, I would recommend you join all of those organizations, but ours is kind of free.
Yeah, and it doesn't cost anything to share, right? To raise awareness overall, it doesn't cost anything. I'm curious, and this question goes out to everyone. I'm curious, because you guys have been to the Capitol, you've been to DC. What are the, because, okay, help me understand, right? What are the arguments against what you guys are doing? And what are the strongest arguments that you hear? And then how do you counter those?
I can take one. Let's say, the anti-gunners get fed that guns are the number one killers of kids, and they use 18 and 19-year-olds in their kid equation, which everywhere else is an adult. So you can get a lot of that gang stuff. And you also hear that there's 45,000 people killed annually, which 2/3 of those are suicide. So if you don't know that there are up to 2 million saves, then you really don't know how to counter that. But every time I hear that number 45,000, I think about the 2 million saves. And if we're going to compare apples to apples, then those lives should count as well. But on our website, there's a one-page talking points document. So it's got all the usual suspects: universal background checks, red flag laws, safe storage, magazine restrictions, all of those things of why we do support or don't support those things. And so when you're going into an interview, when you're going into the Thanksgiving table, and you want to be able to have those things fresh on your mind, just go visit our website, womenforgunrights.org, and download that one document.
I did not know that existed on there, so I'm going to go check that out. That's really helpful. And what have you guys heard, the rest of you heard too?
Well, I can tell you that when I go and testify on these gun bills, MDA is there in full force in their red shirts, and they use a lot of emotion when they testify, and honestly, a lot of false facts.
Who's MDA?
Moms Demand Action.
Okay.
Yes. Bloomberg's group of girls. Yeah. And they use a lot of emotion and, incorrect facts. They kind of cherry pick them. And we try to counter that with our own facts, but it appears that the emotional stuff really works well. So we have women that we bring with us to testify that have been victimized, pistol whipped, whatever, robbed. And we try to be that counter voice. So that's kind of something that we do.
Right.
And if you want another example.
Yeah.
In Missouri, being a fairly decent, other than gun-free zones, being pretty free of much gun control, the moms, they will, whatever the bill, they will bemoan the lax gun laws of Missouri. That's to blame for everything. We're even to blame for Chicago, violence, because our laws are so lax. They just come get their guns here. So we get blamed for everything. And last week, I was able to testify on an anti-red flag bill. I was the only woman against it. And I made a point to point out that those sort of confiscation schemes actually get used against victims of domestic violence. And when the Moms Demand lady came up, I actually saw her air quote the word law-abiding citizens.
Wow.
And that did not sit well with me. That's just what they're doing. We're not innocent until proven guilty. It's how can we be trusted with a firearm? We're law-abiding until we're not. And so that's what we're facing in Missouri. Our freedom is a hindrance to reducing their gun violence.
And do
In
you
Utah,
guys go ahead?
Also, just mention in Utah right now, we have a bill that is going to, well, first of all, Utah teachers can already carry in the schools with a concealed carry permit. We have a bill that just passed House and Senate that basically is going to give teachers extra training. And the antis are fighting against that bill right now. Where it's on the governor's desk, we're waiting for signature. But their concern is that we're spending too much money. So this bill had a fiscal note of $100,000. $100,000 to train teachers.
Wow.
And they're concerned about that money going to the safety of their children and instead of going to educating them.
Everything seems so backwards, guys. And maybe I'm backwards, but to me, a lot of this doesn't make sense. I'm curious, when you guys go to these places with quote unquote the other side, does it ever get kind of ugly or dangerous, or is it pretty okay most of the time? What does that look like?
I've had some really bad looks and comments. But the first thing that we do when we go in there is we say, look, we know your stance on guns, but what we want to do is try and bridge the gap. Mm-hmm. And we'll
Find
get rolling
somehow.
eyes, oh, yeah, whatever. Yeah. But we really try hard. We talk about faster. And by the way, in Colorado, there's a bill out there to stop faster saves lives.
Could you explain what that is for people that don't know?
FASTER is the school program where if you want to be trained and carry a firearm, they will train you. It's a massive organization that goes in and trains these teachers or educators or people in the school system, so that it's not necessarily just a gun-free zone where they're being shot at. Somebody can shoot back, but anyway, we talk about all these programs that we have partnered with, and honestly, they don't want to hear it, even though we feel like we have some solutions to their issues.
How important is it, do you think, to try to find common ground, or is there any common ground right now?
There is common ground.
Yes,
I find
common ground, but for others, you have to speak to everyone. And for those that have ears that hear, those are the ones that you're talking to. So we continue to try to reach, like, that was a great explanation, Barb. And I'm really proud of all of our girls, because I don't feel like there's a whole lot of hateful, we're not serving the ball. We might get served some, and I don't even see us kind of hitting back at it. Everybody is very professional from our side, and I'm thankful for that. I think that we set the tone, and that's what we expect. Will we get it as we grow? I don't know, but we really try to train our girls to expect the hate, expect the emotion, and be prepared for the conversation and not be caught off guard, because that's when things go awry, that you want to like call somebody a stupid name, is when you really can't articulate your or get it through to them. And sometimes you just got to walk away. There's I get in things online, and just to have conversations with people, and there are people that when they respond, and I'm like, carry on, we have nothing to talk about.
Yeah, but I think it's important that we try to reach who we can, because there are people out there who, if given correct information, might go, oh, I didn't know that. I didn't realize that until somebody tells them, or they hear that from an organization like yours. So what the work you guys are doing is so important, and I can't say that enough.
Well, and for your audience that might think, oh, I have a pro Second Amendment legislator, they need reinforced, because they're getting bullied by the red shirts all the time, and they're weakening. So it is important for you to call and say, hey, stand strong. I like your stance on the Second Amendment, stuff like that. And then on top of that, there's a bigger picture for what Women for Gun Rights needs to be including is it's not just legislators, it's our friends, it's our families, it's our communities, and our legislators. We are influencing everyone when we talk to them. And it's really important. This sure was really important to me, because having this gun next to my face is probably the only positive thing that somebody may see. They always see it bad. They always hear the bad things. So having this shirt and having a conversation with somebody without ever saying a word is really important.
Yeah, we've had people come up to us before when we're wearing our shirts and they're like, what is that? I want to know about that. In Colorado, when you're in the legislature, though, and you walk in with that shirt, they make you take it off and turn it around, and they don't want you to wear it, even though, you know, it's just an object, right? But calling your representatives and your senators and blasting their email, you know, blasting them with emails and stuff like that is really helpful. I will tell you just a quick story. We were in DC last year and I got to go to Ken Buck's office, and it was during the vote for a new speaker. And we walked in that office and the phones were on fire and you could hear people screaming on the other end, and their staff was just in a tizzy.
Really?
So I would tell you, call, write, email, testify, show up, even if you just show up. Because we need to show them that we are serious and we are not going to let them take our gun rights away.
And that's very well said, Barb. Thank you. So I think that's a good segue. Go ahead if you have another story.
I was just going to say, last year I had the opportunity, being friendly with my legislators. There was a bill that was a good pro gun bill. And I sent my email and she contacted me. She's like, hey, can you get me some more emails? These are the only emails that we've received in this committee. And this, you know, it was going to the vote for that day.
Really?
And so they listen.
Wow.
And they want our emails. They want our information on how we feel, you know, whether it's for or against.
How hard is it to send an email too, right?
Right. Yeah. It's so easy. And especially most of the time we provide the information on what to say and who to send it to.
Is that on the website too? Just out of curiosity.
I don't think so. I don't think that there's an overall 50 states. That's something that would come from your state director. A little more localized.
Yeah. And all the state directors are listed on the website, guys. So if you go to the website and then hook up with your state director, they can point you in the right direction. So I'd really encourage you to do that. And we're getting towards the end of the hour. Oh, hey, there's Adam. You're not invited. It's girls only, Adam.
Adam, you're welcome.
I'll join you, ladies. So I have a quick question for you. So, you know, my heart goes out to Barb, right? I spent 20-something years in Colorado. That's my home. I love that place, right? But it did go anti-gun. So joining these organizations, what you're doing is so important. Writing the letters, talking to them, calling them, you know, being part of the rallies. It's so important. My thought is also this, is it seems like in Colorado that the moment we went to electronic voting, we went to mail-in balloting, immediately the state flipped from a deep gun-loving place to immediately and then a more growing anti-gun place, to the point where now places like Colorado, Washington, you know, Illinois, it's almost like there's no way to overcome that mountain. Yet it seems like that part of the good to a fight might be to also be fighting for going back to more of paper ballots and others. That might be the root to a lot of this stuff, is fixing the voting system itself. That's just my thought. I'm just curious what you ladies think too.
Well, I think it goes back to our complacency. Is like, who did we allow to run for school board, election board? Who's in charge of our cities and our states and our counties?
And are we paying attention?
Really, it's up to us. It's we the people. That's the problem, is that we the people, we are fat, lazy, and we aren't paying attention, and we're letting people who do want to manipulate and take the reins, we're allowing them to do it. So if you're a patriot, I would recommend that you start plugging into your community and not being ugly about it, but being loud.
In Colorado, you know, we had some counties had a certain voting machine, and there's a big push now to get rid of that. And we just had our caucus last week, and I'm a precinct captain because I don't know how to say no to anything. And anyway, the people that are running in my county, I live in Douglas County, which has always been very red. Last go round, we actually had somebody that infiltrated, took one of our seats away from us. So we are in a huge push right now for people to run for office and to take that seat back. And it's a huge push, I can tell you that.
Well, I'll bow back out, but it just seems to me like about the only way to truly solve this at the root is for us. We're the ones who've chosen to carry guns in defense of life. We're taking the responsible step of doing all the things you're doing and getting the training, that it might also behoove us to also take the responsible step to put ourselves in the line of fire to make ourselves the candidates of these things, right? Like Diana, you're talking about, go run for the school board, go be county dog catcher, right? Become a legislator, a county councilman, a city council lady, whatever it is you need to do. Shucks, run for state office, Senate. I think that's about the only way. Are you
announcing something to us, Adam?
No, but I think that's about the only way we can change it, is those who are willing to take that step. And that's a hard step, but man, somebody's got to do it.
Well, I'm telling you, I think AOC set the bar pretty low. So if we had the coverage of the media like she does, and that'd be nice, but we don't. And you are going to get crucified, and it is going to be a thankless job. But honestly, we have to do exactly what Adam's talking about. We have to step into the line of fire and withstand the hate that's going to come our way when you speak up against not only for guns and for the Second Amendment, but for these patriotic, conservative topics. So it's up to us. It's up to we, the people. And until we get a little bit more uncomfortable, I don't see us doing what needs to happen.
So by the way, guys, we're almost to the end. So if you have any questions for any of these gals, please drop those in the comments. We're almost at the end of the broadcast. So bring your best questions for these gals, because they are used to answering hard things. And I just really admire all of you for being willing to take this kind of heat, to stand and lead from the front. I think that takes a special kind of person, and not just to be willing to do it, but to do it well. Because I don't think there might be lots of people willing, but not everyone is articulate. Not everyone knows what they're talking about. And it sounds like you've put together, at least from what I can tell, quite a team of women that are doing really good work where they're planted. And are you in Oklahoma then still, or are you someplace else now?
I actually moved right across the border to Coffeyville, Kansas, which is where my husband's from. So we built a house 3 years ago. I retired in 2014. And so we've been here enjoying the Kansas lifestyle when we're home.
I bet that's a hopping place. I grew up in northern Missouri, so I know all about the small town Midwest thing. I totally get it.
Well, where are you from? I'm from Brookfield, Missouri, originally.
Oh, really? Well, I had friends in Brookfield, but I was an hour north of St. Joe.
Oh yeah, Maryville.
That's where I went to college.
Well,
yeah. Small world, huh? Small world.
Well, thanks for having us on. We really appreciate you spreading the news.
Well, you know what? I think it's important, and again, Susan, I got to give you credit. Because that video got my attention. I'm like, okay, I got to look into this a little bit more. And Cindy did reach out to me as well. So I got to give Cindy some props too. But between those two things, I just felt like we need to get these girls on like now. while this topic that's going on in Missouri, while that's happening, we need people to know what's going on. Because when I heard that happened in Missouri, where I grew up, I thought, no way, not in Missouri, Yep. So that just goes to show you that no matter where you are, it doesn't matter. You can't just sit back and be like, yeah, that happens in other places, but that won't happen here, because that's just not true. I think that's
and what
where
I
we get in
learned,
trouble.
Missouri, good gun state, no one worries about Missouri. Well, when I first started going up there, Everyone in the room assumed I was there to speak against the pro-gun bill,
Really?
and they were just, their mouths were agape when I was for it. And I got like 3 questions from the Republicans on the committee. They were so excited to have a woman that was there
Really?
speaking for guns. And that just drove it home to me how important it was that I get my tail up there and speak every time there's a firearms related bill. Because
Yeah.
our side,
They need our
women
support.
who like and own guns need to be heard in that building.
Yeah.
So
Totally agree. We do have one question. You guys up for it?
What?
We have one so far. There might be more. Come on, guys. You've got more. I know you do. Let's see here. Heather wants to know, in Colorado, what is the sentiment amongst sheriffs regarding these upcoming gun grabbing regulations? Can anyone speak to that?
Yeah, they don't like them. And in the past, they have specifically even said, we're not going to enforce them. We'll see. We got the Colorado Bureau of Investigation involved now. The legislature's trying to give them a lot of power, and they're an unelected group, so let's scoop.
Well, it's good because we do need our law enforcement, on our side, so to speak, as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, got another question. Oh, do you want to ask it, Adam?
Lord. Yeah, can I jump in on this, right?
Yeah.
Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, right? Your sheriff is the most short-term powerful person in the United States of America, has more short-term power than the president does, right? And if you have good sheriffs in there, even though the state may vote in laws, if the sheriff feels that's unconstitutional, that sheriff, he or she, will forcibly not allow their deputies to enforce that law, right? I had that happen where I was in Colorado, right? Colorado came up with a bunch of laws that were anti-gun and some other stuff. And our sheriff literally said, that's not constitutional. I will not enforce this law. So though it might be on the books, it was an unenforceable law within that county. And usually if a sheriff of a county says that, also the municipalities within that county will also go, hey, we're not going to force that thing either, because the sheriff says it, the DA's office usually is going to follow that, right? Or they're going to work together. So that is one thing that's truly important, that we get the right type of sheriffs in there.
Absolutely.
That's a really good point, Adam. Thank you. And then this other question, how much time out of a regular day or week does it take for the average person to do the things needed to have an impact on our lawmakers? Well, you said an email would help, right?
Call.
Phone
I can give you the
call
phone number right
showing
now.
up is even better though, right, Susan? Because if there's just one person showing up, it's not showing a united community group of people that feel the same way, right?
Well, like when I show up, I always say we and us, because I do have other ladies that I'm representing.
Yeah.
So then like at rally day, when there are some of those ladies with him, I'm like, see, I wasn't lying. I have people. But
Right.
and as far as how much time, it's however much you're willing to give. I'm at home all the time, so I work more on this than I would an average job. But that's because that's how I feel about this. But I give my ladies that are joined up as delegates, and just people online, you can follow me on Facebook and you'll know everything going on firearms related in Missouri. I will lay before you on a platter every opportunity available where a phone call is needed, an email is needed, submitting testimony online. I lay it out for everyone. So it's just as much or as little as you're willing to do. No excuses.
Yeah.
Zero.
And like in
Go ahead.
Utah, we only have our legislation session is for 45 days. In Montana, I believe it's every other odd year. And so, I mean, it's during that time that really you need to put forth the effort to make a difference.
Yeah, it's like making hay while the sun's shining, right? The old saying.
And in 45 days, they can wreak havoc, let me tell you.
Yeah.
A point on that, if I can.
Yeah.
One thing I've learned the little while I've done this, it is in the off session that the bills are getting written, hashed out, they're getting word in from all the parties involved, what they like, what they don't like. So when session starts, those bills are written and ready to go. So there are things you can do in the off session to make sure your rep is representing you on the 2A the way you want them to.
Okay. That's good to know.
Yeah, things happen fast at the state level, whereas the federal level, it could take years to see a bill pass, but it's definitely a lot quicker at the state level.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope everybody, if anybody's in Colorado, please come join us at noon on Monday. We're trying to take the wind out of the sails. You know, those people that are sitting at home watching the 6 o'clock news on Monday night, we want them to see the teal women listening to our stories about why we think these failed gun policies are bad for Colorado. And then the next morning, Tuesday morning, Rocky Mountain Gun Owners is having a big rally that morning. What time does it start?
7:30. The rally,
Right.
they're meeting on the steps of the Capitol at 7:30.
And the hearing is going to take all day long. And you might have to, if you want to testify, I'm sure you're going to need to sign up beforehand. So please join us Monday at noon at the old Supreme Court building in the Capitol.
In Colorado. Okay.
In Colorado.
One last question here. This is a great way to end as well. I want to get involved in Nevada. How do I get started?
Visit womenforgunrights.org and sign up. It is simple as that. It is free to join, and we welcome you.
Well, that's easy. That's a nice website too. I have navigated through the About page many times, getting the bios and all the stuff together for the show tonight, and it's a very good website and very informative.
That's nice to hear.
Yeah. So any parting thoughts here before we leave tonight, or anything that I haven't covered that I need to cover? We've pretty much, I think, gone over actionable items, I believe. You know, what can people do?
One other one I just wanted to mention is
Yeah.
we need to start holding these legislators accountable, because the good people of Colorado are spending a lot of time away from work to get down there and fight these bills. So we got to hold them responsible for wasting our time, especially for unconstitutional bills that they're putting through.
Right. Any other parting thoughts from anyone before we wrap up tonight?
We are not defenseless females, except that is when you disarm us.
You guys were really great. I've never had 4 guests on all at one time. Very respectful. I appreciate all of your input. You all bring something different to the table, which is very refreshing, and all very well informed. So it's been a complete pleasure to have you guys on the show tonight. And thanks for taking the time.
Thank you.
Your days.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
You bet. Okay, so I'm going to move on then to what to expect for next week. And first of all, I want to say, because I say it every week, and I'm going to continue to say it every week because I care and I mean it. I want to thank all of my supporters on locals.com. I have been posting special posts there for you guys. One of the things that I do on locals.com is a series of episodes called Defenders Uncensored. And Defenders Uncensored is a series of roundtable discussions similar to what you just saw on topics that might be considered controversial, but we don't think they should be. And there's a reason why they're posted on Locals, because we might, maybe, I don't know, especially this year, get kicked off of other platforms by speaking our minds on issues. We just talk candidly about it. We're very honest and forthcoming about those issues. And we just posted episode 8 called Cutting Through the BS. And there I hosted, this one wasn't quite as controversial, but I hosted a discussion with people from across the country who are deeply connected to helping our veterans and first responders. The suicide rates in this community have skyrocketed, and it's just something that just bothers me. I think that our veterans and first responders are not getting enough support. Not that I know have all the answers, but I just facilitated bringing some really great people together in that episode that talked about what are the real problems going on and what are some real solutions. So if you want to check that out, you can go to locals.com, go to the Discover tab, search up Defenders Live, and you'll find it there. One last thing too, I want to say, I want to thank all of you who've reached out to me about the recent episode of the Brian Hill story that was posted probably 3 weeks ago, that officially went live. The locals community got to see it early. I did an early release there, but the outpouring of support has been unbelievable. The support for Brian for sharing his story has been unbelievable. To those of you who have let me know how that has impacted you, that has made such a deep impact on me. It's made me so grateful to hear from all of you, to know that that it's helped you in your life. And it encourages me to know that the work that I'm doing here is actually resonating with people, that people are responding to it. And I know, I just talked to Brian today, I know it deeply impacted him as well. And so it's just been a positive all the way around. It's created a ripple effect for sure. So thank you guys for reaching out, for sending messages, for commenting, for sharing the Brian Hill story. It's been probably, since I started the show 2 years ago, to date anyway, I'd say one of the most important episodes I've done. So anyway, I'll get off my soapbox about that, but I just really wanted to thank you guys for that. And then I'm sorry to leave you hanging, but next week's episode, I'm going to call a wild card episode. I have a couple of ideas in mind, but I have not landed on one yet. So I'm going to keep you in suspense for what to expect for next week. But I'm really looking forward to seeing all of you guys again next week. Thanks for tuning in tonight. We've had a great conversation. I look forward to seeing you again next week, 7 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time now. I'll see you again next week. Until then, take care.